is Deborah with Hello My Garden, and today we're going to be mixing up a batch of Bokashi Bran. Bokashi is a method of fermented composting that was developed by Japanese farmers centuries ago. It's been in use in the Far East and Asia for a long time, but has recently seen a growth in popularity in the U.S. So this method uses a mixture of microorganisms to accelerate the decomposition and also to decrease the smell of composting. It's a method that you can do indoors. There is some smell, so some people like to do it in their garage. Some people don't find the smell to be bad at all, but it can be strong when you lift up the container lid. So what I have here today to get started is I have wheat bran. You can use various types of brands or media or whatever you want to call it for your bran. Some people even use newspaper, shredded newspaper. I really like the wheat bran. You can use rice bran, I think, which would be more traditional. We also use rice hulls, but the rice hulls don't tend to stick together as well when you're using it. So I've got a big bowl here, a spatula, I've got molasses, I've got water. You want to use filtered or spring water, and this EM microbial inoculant, which is effective microorganisms, which is the microorganisms that are going to ferment this bran. I also have my own homemade EM liquid, although I tend to trust the purchased product a little bit better. Maybe in time I'll trust my own version a little bit more, but I like to just splash a little bit of my own in and use the purchased product. Now, I'm going to warn you up front, I am not a person that likes to follow a recipe to the T, so I kind of splash here, splash there. But essentially, you're going to have 2 tablespoons of molasses, 2 tablespoons of EM microbial inoculant, to 5 cups of water, and 5 pounds of bran. I have just a little under 5 pounds here, so we're going to just test the moisture level of the bran and see how it goes. So what you want to do is I have about 2 cups of water in this jar, and we're going to be adding the molasses to the jar. I have just a little bit of this molasses. I also have organic molasses. I'm assuming that that'll be okay. Again, I'm not a big stickler for following the recipe to the T, and I really don't think that the Bokashi microorganisms are really going to care if there's a little more or a little less molasses. I think a little more would probably be better than a little less. So there is about 1 tablespoon, and this is kind of slow going because we're at the end of this bottle here. So you're going to want to dissolve the molasses in the liquid. Let's get the other bottle open here while I'm dissolving this one. The molasses doesn't dissolve super well. Okay. Yeah, it's not dissolving very well off that spoon at all. Let's go ahead and put the other spoon, and I'll just put a little bit more there to make up for the little bit that has not come off the spoon yet. And again, I'm not following it to a T. Okay. You can use a little spatula maybe to help push that off a bit, off the spoon. Okay. Continue to stir it up until it's dissolved. I've got another 2 cups in this measuring cup right here. I'll put a little bit more in there to Fill it up so that there's a mixture. Okay, so now we are going to add the EM. Give it a little bit of a, turn it, not a shake, but a, now it's fermented, so it can bubble up. Okay, here we go. So we're going to put 2 tablespoons of the EM in there. Whoops. There we go. 1, 2. We'll give that a stir. Okay, that looks good to me. Alrighty then. So we're going to go ahead and start putting the bran in the bowl. Again, this is organic wheat bran. You can buy it at bulk at some of your natural food stores. I purchased mine at Whole Foods. You can also get some at livestock feed, although I really prefer to use organic. I just don't like the thought of maybe having GMOs or pesticides or any kind of stuff like that in my bokashi. So this is just short of 5 pounds right here. And it's going to be quite a tight squeeze in this bowl here. Okay, so now we're going to start putting the liquid into the dry mixture. Just kind of put it in, mix it up a little. It looks like some of that molasses is at the bottom of the jar there. But again, I added more than 2 tablespoons, so it should be fine. Okay. Now we're going to mix this up, and then until it gets to a consistency, we want to mix it very thoroughly. But the consistency that we want to end up with is where you're going to squeeze a ball of it together and it will hold together, but there won't be any excess liquid coming out of the handful. So now I'm just getting it started with the spatula, but we're going to turn to using our hands in just a minute. This is something that you're going to have to get your hands in and really get down and dirty with it, so to speak. Okay. Now I didn't pour all my water in because, again, I said I had just a little short of 5 pounds. And also, depending on your humidity level, that might affect it a little bit. Maybe the dryness level of your bran. So I like to not add all the liquid at once. I like to put most of it in and then keep a little bit of it back just in case it's too wet. Okay, so I think that's about where we can go with the spatula. And now you will make a mess of this, and in the summertime I prefer to do this outside. It is a very messy process, but for indoor composting it's great. We've been doing this probably about 2 years now, we find that when we do eventually put this stuff out there with the plants, the earthworms love it. They just dig right on in there. They get in there and they finish, I guess, the final composting. Bokashi Bran is not going to be a finished product after you're done with it. It's going to need to be mixed in with the soil to finish up. But this is what we're making here is the Bokashi Bran, which is going to be the fermenting, what do you want to call it? A fermenting product, the bran, the media that's going to deliver the microorganisms to your plant products and your food products. Now we only, we are plant-based. I would say that we're vegan, but we do at times eat honey, so we're not 100% vegan, but I would say we're 99.9% vegan. So we're plant-based, and all of our scraps that go into this are plant products. But Japanese Bokashi methods, it's supposed to be safe for meats as well, although I would not, again, I don't use that way. We don't eat meat, so all we put in there is our plant products. So this is mixed up pretty good. I'm trying to dig down there in the bottom because some of the liquid probably soaked down to the bottom there. I like to also put just a tad bit of my homegrown Bokashi in here because it's a little bit dry. It can take a little bit more water. This is my our homegrown Bokashi. Okay. Mixed our homegrown EM that was. Okay. We want to make sure that all the liquid with the effective microorganisms, the EM, is mixed in really well. I think it's going to need a little bit more water. I think this would have been a little bit better with just a tiny bit of a larger bowl. Again, it's messy and I've got bran already everywhere. I have a little bit more water in my cup. We'll go ahead and add it to it. There we go. It needed all that water. Now, ultimately, what the use for this Bokashi Bran is when you put your plant products, your leftover banana peels, your leftover spinach and chard and just whatever you have from your dinner, your vegetable products, you're going to put it in your Bokashi bucket, which we will show you at another time. You put it in your bucket, and then you'll take a handful of this bran after it's been dried and cured, and put it on top of your bucket. So it's going to be like your probiotic that goes on top of your vegetables. in your Bokashi bucket to deliver the microorganisms to your vegetables so that they can begin fermenting and composting those vegetables into a product that you can put out in your garden. And it does it actually quite so much faster than traditional composting. Again, I'm thinking that this is still a little dry. I think this is at the good stage. We get it staying together, but there's no excess water coming out. You can actually do with just a little bit more water, but I want to make sure that it's mixed up really good. So say it just barely holds together, maybe a little more water. I'm just going to pour a tiny bit in. Again, I'm not the best for measuring, but be careful. You don't want to make it too wet. It's looking good. This is something you're just going to really have to feel your way to see when it's just the right consistency. And I think this is good. Just staying together, no excess water able to be squeezed out. This is good. This is really good. Yeah. Just holds together, no excess water. We don't want it too wet.